Alright, so I recently just posted a video about my Qidi Plus 4 showing that it had a wobbly extruder. The carriage was wobbling on this lower rail. This printer has a top rail and a lower rail, and something had come loose on that printer, and now I'm seeing it on a second printer, and it's hard to show. It's going to be hard to show over camera, but this actually has some give. I can feel it kind of not quite popping, but jiggling on that bottom rail. And I opened up the first printer, and what's happening here is there is a linear slide inside of here, and I'll show a picture of it along with this video. And that slide is made of, I think, brass and like it's Teflon or graphite or something. And it is just wedged inside of this clamshell, this plastic clamshell, and it really has nothing else holding it in place. So after thousands and thousands of printer cycles, it just starts to wobble and get loose inside of there. And the repair that I did on the other printer, and I'll try to flip my camera inside of here. Okay, so, all right, good. So we can actually see through these larger holes. See that brass colored thing in the back there? That's the linear slide. And you can see inside of the brass it has little cutouts which have Teflon or something, some type of plastic, I think, kind of impregnated in the brass. And the repair for that jiggliness was to drive a screw in that hole and that hole, and to help pin the clamshell against the slide. Actually, let me just try something here. I think I should be able to, there we go. Slide that off. All right, I wanted to see if we could see the top slide, because I'm not sure if the top one, I think the top one might be an actual ball bearing slide instead of just this brass stuff. But so the first printer I repaired by putting a screw in there and there. And now I'm going to repair this printer. Now, Qidi has actually sent me this clamshell. And so let's go over to the bench and take a look at that and try to understand this a little bit better. So pop back out of the printer here. So these just by the way, these prints are garbage. I can't sell those with those lines on them. This is my Creality K2. It actually just finished. What is that? A 16-hour print, and it doesn't look much better. So there's still a little bit of banding, but these are perfectly acceptable. So what are we getting there? 1, 2, 3. We got 12 of those little camera mounts and a 16-hour print. It's pretty good. So we need to get our Qidi working again to get that level, at least that level of quality out of it. So we're over here at the workbench, and this is the clamshell that I was showing you, or trying to show you inside the printer. And so this is a replacement that Qidi sent me once I showed them the problems I had with my first printer. I actually have 3 of these Qidi Plus 4s. The first printer had right now it has 1,500 hours on it. When the problem was really bad, it had about 1,200 or 1,300, but I think the problem started at like 800 hours. And the printer that I just got finished showing you has like 600 hours, and it's already having problems. So this is the carriage or extruder, I guess, housing or clamshell. And this is the front. This is where the nozzle sits, and this is where the I guess extruder assembly goes, and then this is the back. So this is what I was showing you, and I was pointing at these 2 little windows here where you could see inside. And if you can imagine, let's imagine this is that brass slide. It just gets sandwiched in there, and essentially I guess just the pressure of assembling this clamshell is what is supposed to hold that part in there. Well, it just rests on this ribbing inside of the assembly, and that's just plastic. So it really doesn't have I mean, you could almost predict that that's going to fail, because plastic is going to, with a lot of motion cycles, start to wear away, and it just starts to jiggle inside of there. So the solution, and it's not really the greatest solution, on my first printer, I used some 3mm machine screws and drove those in this hole and this hole, and it was extremely tight. It was actually hard to get them in there, but I essentially just drove them in until they pressed against that slide, and that took the wobble out, and that printer is printing fine now. I did see someone else who had the same problem. They made a YouTube video, and they did the same thing with the screws from the back, but they injected some silicone or some type of high temperature sealant into this pocket to kind of glue everything in place, which isn't a terrible idea. I don't quite like it looked a little messy to me, so we're going to stick with screws. I'm actually not going to replace this housing. I'm just going to drive screws in. And when they sent me this clamshell, they sent me some screws which may serve the purpose better. I think these will be better than the machine screws that I used. So I'll drive 2 of those in the back here, and those will press down on that slide, and I'll try not to overdo it, because if you over tighten, you're going to end up, I think you're just going to end up forcing the clamshell apart. Or possibly worse is, I don't know how strong that brass slide is. If you press on it too hard, does it compress and then not slide on the rail nicely? So I don't know if I'll be able to capture installing these screws on the camera, but let's go back to the printer and see if we can get that done. On my way back to the printer, I just thought I'd show you guys this this is a Qidi K2 Plus, making some more of that same part. And I like these printers. They're kind of expensive, but they can make a lot of parts on one tray, that's for sure, because they're quite large, 350 cubed build area. All right, we're back inside of our printer, and it's actually kind of useful having this camera, because it helps me see what I'm doing. So there's screw number 1. Okay, so I can already feel that first screw has gotten rid of most, if not all, of the wobble. Let's get the second screw in. Now, I don't know if I'm going to have to come tight. I suppose I'm going to have to come snug these up every once in a while, which is unfortunate. You know, if it just ends up being a game of, you know, wait till the print quality goes down and then you have to come fix it. So those are both snug, and that feels kind of stiff. I don't know. I'm gonna come clean this rail off. I have mistakenly put oil on these before, not realizing that this was not a ball bearing part, and I think that that's causing problems. So I'm going to clean this rail. Okay, that feels pretty good to me. I do not feel that movement anymore, so we'll start a new print and we'll see how it goes. Alright, so we're going to print these 2 simple cylinders right now. I just made those in Qidi Studio really quick. But first, it occurred to me that I should really rerun input shaping now that we've made that change to the rails, or kind of made a change. And so we'll let that run, and then we'll print those cylinders. Alright, it's been about 20 minutes. We're back at our test print now. we're just printing 2 simple cylinders here with 2 walls and no infill. And actually, let's go ahead and stop this print. And see if we can get a closer look at this. So this actually looks really good. Very slight layer lines. By the way, this is actually printing with a 0.14 layer, which can tend to actually make the layer line, if you go too low on your layers, it can tend to make the layers look worse because you can get more irregular squish out. But this looks good to me. I think I'm going to repeat this test, and we'll do it with two cubes just to introduce some jerky movements, just to make sure that these round shapes aren't masking any problems with the print head. Okay, so we'll do that and we'll be right back. Okay, so we've got a couple cubes here, and these look great. So I'd say we definitely fixed our problem. All right, we're back at the bench here, and I have my test prints. Here's the cube. I think looks pretty good. Now I should explain that these are, this is a 0.14 millimeter layer height, so kind of a low or short layer height. But the result is good. It's much better than what I was getting off of the printer before. Here's a cylinder. I do have something going on with these Qidi +4s where do you see this pattern that almost looks like it's spiraling up? I do have that in my printers, and I'm not sure what causes it. I think it might have to do with the reel itself, the reel of filament. I'm not sure. If anyone knows what causes that very light spiraling up pattern, let me know, because I'd like to get rid of that. But I've definitely fixed the problem with the wobbly carriage. So if you need to do this, I'd say you don't really need a replacement clamshell for the extruder assembly. A couple of screws will fix it. Well, it'll at least fix it for a while. We don't know how long this is going to last. So like I said, on my first one I used an M3 machine screw, and that was too tight. And then the second one I just did, I just used these. I don't know what to call these. I'm sure they're a 3mm variant of a plastic screw, but I was just playing around, and this is a number 4 screw, and it looks like that would thread nicely into that plastic. I think what you'd want to do here is take sandpaper or file or grinding wheel and take the points out of that, so that when it contacts that brass sleeve, it doesn't start drilling into it. So that's the repair. Hopefully all of this helps someone out, and I'd love to hear your comments on this. If you have better ideas about how to fix this without disassembling the whole, ideally without disassembling the entire extruder, that would be great. Post your comments below, and I'll catch you guys next time.